Had me on the headset. I didn't wash my hair for years. So Chris contends that Jack and Harry Warner believed we made Mickey Mouse until the early 1960s, and they found out we didn't, so they closed the studio. No, that was an interesting life. Any more pertinent questions?
How do you distinguish from animator to director?
What's that?
How did you go from animation to director? From animator to director?
How did I become a director from being an animator? I suspect because I wasn't a very good animator. You could become a cell. I started as a cell washer, really. I was supposed to go and draw, but in those days they washed the cells after they used them. Do you know that? When you're finished with them, they used them and washed them, used them over again. They cost, after all, they cost 7 cents a piece. No, what actually happened was that we had, another thing that Leon realized, that he made more pictures, he'd make more money. Right? So he had a terrible man, a great cast who didn't understand what was going on either. And but another, and he had, I don't know how he happened to hire an intelligent man. His name was Henry Binder, and he was not an artist, and but he was a very intelligent guy. And he took pity on me because I was not really happy with what I was doing. Bob Clement and I had a contretemps, and Bob we were supposed to be co-directors like Hanna-Barbera, and Bob, I'm not bitter about it, but anyway, I was left floundering. And so Henry looked at me where I was like a fish. It's not much like a fish, but I do the best I can. So he took pity on me when they were forming this new unit. Rather, what actually happened was I inherited Frank Tashlin Jr. Tashlin had left to go out into live action, and so I inherited that unit. And so I started, and I made a number of pictures that I often thought would be nice to cut up and make banjo picks out of them. And, get some value out of them. But it's a terrible thing. I mean, it's just, geez, you made lousy pictures. I was 23. And it wasn't very good. There were some terrible ones. But we had an enormous advantage of very few people today. We could make public errors and nobody really noticed because there was not enough knowledge about animation. And above all, the first critic hadn't been born. Nobody knew how to criticize it because they didn't know what the hell we were doing. However, I do believe this, that you should have the area of criticism for animation should be the same as it is for anything else. After all, hopefully we're obeying what the dictionary says. Well, Webster put it down very clearly: animation, to invoke life. You can't beat that. And so that's, and the actor that's acting is trying to invoke life. Same thing. So I believe you should look at it in that way. I mean, if the picture is well made, if it serves its purpose, if it's laughs. And Jackie Gleason probably put it best about that. He said that animation, and that the comedian is working in the most exacting field of drama because he has instant criticism, laughter. You can be doing most fun. Doesn't matter what you're doing. You can't look out and see whether the audience is crying or not, right? The laughter you can tell. And here, when you're making a film, you go there and they laugh. You're doing exactly as any other performer because you're a little further away from the audience. But so I moved in there with fear and foreboding, but with no feeling that I was confident. And I must tell you that in all the years that I have, perhaps millions of drawings that I've done in the 500 pictures that I've directed, I never saw one that I was satisfied with, or anyone. I've never seen one finished, but I can only look at it and see the mistakes. And I believe this is one of the handmaidens of creativity. Is if you look at it and say, boy, that's good, get out. You don't belong here. All drawing is frustration. And by God, it's the only way to live. Right? Right, yeah. But you'll never do it right. Ever, ever, ever. As I say, the most horrible thing in the world is the realization that you can't become president of drawing. Right? And when we were back at this creativity thing back in New York, wonderful thing where they bring people from all over the world, and they had a whole so I got me and so they came, they had these people talking. A lot of them are captains of industry. They bring about 400 high school kids from all over the country, and they can get all these kind of elegant people, astronauts, well, do you remember the name of that man who was the who just discovered the quark? He was, God, he was funny, and he won the Nobel Prize. I want to come back to that to remind me because, but I noticed all the captains of industry got up there and says, find your goals and then stay with them until you reach them. The artists would get up and say, slop around and say, try to find something that interests you and try to find out if you can do anything about it. Goals my ass. What do you mean? I've never known anybody that was worth anything that started out to do what they're doing. How do you know? You know? God, I can't imagine that. There was a wonderful picture one time, very early picture, one of the Christie Academy Awards, called Seventh Heaven. And you know what Seventh Heaven was? This guy was a sewer worker in Paris, and he worked on the 7th level now. His dream was to be able to sweep the streets. Isn't that touching and marvelous? So what we never thought we would be Disney or do anything like that. So like, no, we were happy to do what we were doing, and I'm still happy to be doing it. And to this day, people pay me to do what I enjoy doing. They've never paid me enormously, but I've simply refused to give up my trade to do the other. You know. Robert Louis Stevenson, when he was went to the South Seas, he was a young man. I think he died when he was 37. But he was a noted writer even then. And San Francisco Chronicle, or one of the papers down there, offered for him to write a weekly newsletter from Samoa. And they offered him a lot of money in those days. He looked it over, and then he turned to the editor and he said, I can't afford to be rich. Isn't that marvelous? Yeah. You can. I mean, look at our associate who was well off. I have no objection to people being like Spielberg, Will Vinton, anybody like that. I'm perfectly happy, but he didn't make a sacrifice to do it. He did not do what Hanna-Barbera did. He did not do what all of the Disney people did, go to work for Filmation or Hanna-Barbera and degrade their craft. So I never regretted that. It took us a long time to get to the point. Mary and I are comfortable now because we're married, and because we have, a reasonable amount of money coming in. I have a participation. I left the Warner Brothers as naked as the day I started, and with very little money. And I figured all the years I worked there, 30 years I worked there, the aggregate amount of money I earned there was $300,000 in 30 years. That was everything that I earned all that time. But you don't think about that because that wasn't the way it was, you know. I'll tell you one more anecdote for you, and it might move some of you sometime to do something about it. It's a simple thing. But when I was an in-betweener and Walt came out with the Three Little Pigs, I was so impressed by it because even though I wasn't animating yet, and it went pop on